Hi guys, so yes, we are live right now, even though it doesn't say that we're live. Hi guys, happy Friday.
Love Friday.
So tonight we actually have a really awesome special guest tonight. Her name is Marissa. Hi Marissa.
Hi guys.
So Drea, you've known Marissa for a while, and I know that you guys have been talking, and I know that Marissa has some stories that she wanted to go ahead and share on the Spooky Podcast. Do you want to kind of give like a background or?
Well, what is the background here?
Background of Marissa.
So when me and Marissa, we kind of know each other. When me and Marissa hang out, I told her how we started this podcast and like kind of gave her an idea of what it was about, some scary stories. And she actually has stories that like I didn't know she had. And they happen to be on UFOs, and I freaking love UFOs. So we had to have Marissa on here to share with us her UFO encounter. Amazing. So I'm very excited for tonight's podcast.
Cool, awesome. Yeah, it's super good to have you, Marissa.
Thank you. I feel famous, guys. What? Never done this before. Yeah. But thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here.
So
cool. So, whenever you'd like.
Should I dive in? Sounds good. All right. So well, personally, I do think that there's things out there. What shape or form they are, like who the heck knows, but there's stuff out there, guys. There is. So my story takes me back many years ago when I was younger, because I'm kind of old now. I was probably 16 or 17 years old, because my youngest brother, he was a toddler, so must have been 16 or 17. And my family loved traveling. We did a lot of traveling when we were younger. We did a lot of trips to Tennessee. And on this particular year, we had been to Tennessee for I was homeschooled, so we had a homeschoolers conference. So on our way back, we were going to stop at a friend's house in Virginia to just kind of relax and chill before we came back home. And this friend happened to have happened to live in a farm, actually. So his closest neighbor was 5 or more miles away on each side. So that's kind of freaky when you think one, there's no light out there. So everything's pitch black. Your nearest neighbor is 5 or more miles away. So if something's happening to you in your house, if you scream for help, nobody listens to you because nobody's nearby. So that's freaky. So this family, they were super nice. They were very hospitable. So they had us all at their house. And that night when we got to their house, we're like, let's go for a walk, because we hadn't seen, how beautiful the farmlands were and whatever. So we're like, yeah, let's go for a walk. So we're all, it was mostly the older kids. So it was me, my twin brothers, my dad, and my other 2 friends and their mom and dad. So we left all the babies at home. So we were walking, and off into the distance, my dad's like, he points at something. He's like, "What is that?" And we all look up because we were looking. Obviously, there's no light, so we had flashlights, and it's a gravel road, so you can easily trip and fall. So he's like, "What is that?" And so we all look up, and it was a bright light, as bright as lights that are used in not concerts, but football fields, like those really brown, round, bright ass lights. That's what it was oval shaped, and it was as bright as that. And it was just, we could see the tree line, and it was just floating above the tree line. So we're like, yeah, that doesn't look normal. It can't be a plane, because we all know planes, the lights flash. And they're, constantly moving at a certain pace already. I'm like, we had already seen satellites that night. It was already really dark. So we had seen satellites. It was a really clear sky. So you could tell that we know satellites flying over. And we're like, that is not a satellite. It's not a plane. It's shaped, as a football, and it's bright as fuck. So sorry. Can I say the F word? I don't know. Okay. So bright as fuck, guys. So I was really, we were both really, me and my dad were puzzled, what is that? And everybody's just kind of throwing around ideas, and they're like, well, there's a military base around. But I was like, I I don't buy it. Because it was just weirdly shaped, like it's not something you'd find in the night sky. And I know what meteors look like. They're like, and they are not just one, they're like several ones if you're in a meteor shower, so I'm like, okay, we couldn't figure out what it was. So it just kept floating on the tree line, and then it stopped. And all of a sudden it sped off. I mean, I guess that's what it did. I'm not sure, but it just took off, and it was just like in a blur. It just zipped right out of view, and we have no idea where it went, what it was, but all we knew it was floating, and it was bright. And my dad's like, that's definitely a UFO, and we're all like, yeah, it has to be, because what else could it be? I mean, we already eliminated all of our options, so we're like, that's not normal. But the night wasn't over. So we came back to the house after our walk, and of course we kept talking about that bright light, what we thought it was. So the older kids we were gonna sleep outside that night. So all the adults and the younger kids slept inside the house, and my brothers and I and the other two boys, we slept outside in the tent. So we got all set up. We were super excited. Again, this house had only one road, like that goes right in front of it, and it goes again to the neighbor that's like super far away, and then the other neighbor. And it was a gravel road, so obviously when the cars would go on the gravel road, you hear it's a distinct sound, right? Like the crunching of the rocks. So we're like, yeah, we're so excited about sleeping outside, and my friend's dad gave us a walkie-talkie just in case if we needed anything, we could just call them, they would come right out. So we were hanging out. Everybody had gone to sleep. The porch lights were off already, and all of a sudden we start hearing this a thumping on the deck. Initially, we thought it might be a deer, because obviously there's just knock and knock, but not if it was an animal, like the hooves, would. When they're walking, it's a distinct sound. So we initially thought it was a deer, and we're like, we all got really quiet. We're like, hello. So my friend, I think his name is Bradley. He's like, hello, is anybody out there? And we all start saying like, hello, who's out there? We thought maybe it might be one of the parents or whatever, but nobody answered back. So the noise stopped, and from behind the house and behind the tree line, a light turned on, again, one of those bright LED type looking lights. It just turned on. I'm just like, okay, like I said, there's no light poles anywhere near this place, so it's always pitch black. So for there to be just a random ass light shining from above, above the tree line to the tent, it was really freaky. We didn't know what to say, because we're help through the walkie-talkie, but nobody was answering back. So I'm sure the parents were definitely snoring. They were fast asleep because nobody was answering. We kept saying like, hello, who's out there? But the light was just bright as all can be. And I'm like, my friend he kept crying into the walkie-talkie, Mom, Dad, come outside. We're just like, no, nobody was coming out. And then as quickly as that light turned on us, it was just like a spotlight on us, completely shut back off. And it felt like forever, but it must have been a few minutes. Then my friend's dad, he had a rifle. He came out with the walkie-talkie and the rifle. And so at that point, the porch light turned on. I'm like, okay, that was the porch light. Yeah. Cool. So we know what that looks like, but definitely it wasn't the porch light had turned on. So we, it was the weirdest thing, because he came outside with the rifle and the walkie-talkie, and he's like, what is it, guys? What's happening? We're like, yeah. So this happened, and we probably talked about it for a few minutes, because we didn't, what the heck could it be? So I don't know if it was the little floating football that we saw earlier, but that was, again, it couldn't have been a car, because we would have heard the car, coming and going on the gravel road. So it definitely wasn't a car. So I don't know, guys. That's
yeah, that's
I don't know what that was.
crazy.
Yeah. That was our encounter with a UFO, we shall never know what those bright lights, really that spotlight was on us. We have no idea. The next morning we go outside and everything's normal. There's a field behind the trees, not a football field because there were no lights. So yeah, that was my encounter with something, whatever was floating out there or walking on the deck. Who knows what it was?
That is pretty creepy. That you just like hear something.
Yeah, it was just.
But it doesn't sound like anything.
It's like it's not even in a walking pattern. Nothing. It's just. Yeah, and the door was I believe the door was a metal door, so nobody would have been knocking on the door. So that was definitely the deck where the sound was coming from. So.
And you guys were right next to the.
Our tent was right next to the yeah.
Oh my god.
So to this day, I will never know, but I've seen a flying football, which is kind of cool. I'm sure it's a UFO. It was a girl UFO. I don't know, but it was it would have been cool. But yeah, no, who knows what it was. So that was my first like visible, I guess, encounter with something really strange.
Did you ever talk about it with like your siblings again after it happened?
We didn't, but I think that there was a time in our lives where we were kind of obsessed with UFOs, and that's all we would watch on TV, like the History Channel and UFOs and what they are. So we actually came back up. Like, do you remember that time that we were in Virginia and we're like, oh my God, what was it? Of course, we still don't know, but yeah, we still talk about it once in a while.
Okay, so really fucked up, first of all. I mean, it's awesome because... Yeah. To me, it just confirms, like, yeah, there's something else out there that we have no idea what it is, what it's here for, what it wants to do, like, nothing. And I'm really glad that you, like, didn't have any further experience with it, like, it trying to get into your tent or anything like that. But the part that, like, makes me think of, like, other things I've heard is, like, the fact that you said that it's shaped like a football and, it, like, the way it just, like, moves is just so weird.
Yeah.
Because, like, people on Joe Rogan or, like, other random videos I've seen, like, that's what everybody says. Like, it moves in a way that, like, nothing else can move. And, like, the brightness of the light. Like, in that documentary that I saw from Netflix, that's what everybody said consistently. Like, it's just blinding. Like, it's, like, nothing else.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I have goosebumps. That's fucking creepy.
Yeah,
That's so creepy. Oh my God, Brittany, do you have anything to say about this?
No, it is really creepy. I've never heard a story like that before. I don't know what I would do if I was camping and I heard that and I saw that. That's scary. I've heard scary things before, but nothing like that kind of freaky. So I don't know. Maybe you did see something.
Maybe we did, and and actually, you were talking about that documentary. As soon as I saw that episode of the documentary on Netflix, I was like, "That's exactly the way it moved."
We were watching.
Yeah. I'm like, that's exactly the way it moved. It was like, there's no rhyme or pattern or reason to how the way that the football was moving, and it's just how it sped off. I'm like, how about that? Okay. It's not a military vehicle I mean, having been in the military, I've never seen anything shaped like a football. So again, unless maybe there's something they're not telling us, but it really, like, what is that bright, so yeah. So we do talk about it often now that we're older. We laugh about it. We're like, that's funny. I think we were all frozen in fear.
Yeah.
Other than the fact that, he's trying to call out in the walkie-talkie, but we're just like, no. Nobody opened the zippers. Nobody opened the windows. Like, no. So yeah, it's scary.
Well, the other thing I wondered too is like, was it because there were so many of you in a group that they were like, nah, let's just like leave them alone. Like, let's not try to even like mess with that. Like, what was it that deterred them from like actually making total contact?
Damn, I would have wished that.
That
would have been cool.
Really?
Yeah.
You're crazy. Well,
just
let us
confirm it to me. Are you
100%
with a big head? I need to know.
Well, guys, let us know what you guys think about this. I think that's like the best story I've ever heard, especially on UFOs. Yeah. That's so crazy. And you've never